This week, after a talk with friends opened her eyes, a young listener asks for our help in finding her O face. Also, since life comes at you fast, you're not always ready for what's next. We'll explore some of life's unexpected and more difficult transitions. Welcome to the talking phase. Hello and welcome to the Talking Phase podcast. I'm excited to be here. We have a great show lined up today. We have an amazing email. We're going to talk about O faces. We have a great topic to talk about, but I'm calling it the big change, but not the one you're thinking of. But if you're new here, my name is Tom. I am one of your hosts, and I am joined, as always, by my beautiful and talented co-host, Pam. Pam, what's going on?
Oh, well, Tom, I never know what to do with your praise, but we have gone from 4 or 5 adjectives to like 2. So I hope you feel all the way better soon. We can get back up to, exceeding expectations and all those lovely adjectives. But I am thrilled to be here today. And what is going on? It is a big week for us. We are gearing up to get out of the country. We didn't
Bingo.
really think it through when we picked France for our trip abroad this year. We did miss the major Olympics, but we will be there in time for the entire Paralympics, which we will not be going to see.
Oh, okay. Good thing
But
you'll be there at least.
yeah, so it'll probably be a little more crowded than usual, but we are heading to Paris for 3 days. Nikki has never been to Paris, so she is the master of itineraries. So like everything is planned, the beautiful hotels, where we're going to eat. We get a little bit of free time every day to relax. She's got it all logged. And then after Paris, we'll head over to Nice, where neither of us have been, for 7 nights to explore Monaco and Antibes and all of the places that we have not seen yet. So
Oh, wow.
I am super excited for that
Sounds
trip.
like it. So, hey, just real quick, and this is such a horrible joke, but I can't resist. Um, you're not planning on bringing your handicap parking sticker to Paris, right? You're not going to be able to find a spot.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have one. I don't have one of those. Yeah, that was actually pretty good. And I think my brain is a little slow. Yes, you're probably right. All those spots will be taken, but we don't drive when we travel. And we would never drive in Paris or probably anywhere in France because the drivers and the taxi cabs are completely insane.
Yes, they
Totally
are.
insane. But listen, let me at least do a shout out to our Instagram page for everybody that's following along that wants to kind of get an inside look at what we do when we travel abroad. Mother and Daughter Abroad on Instagram has been around for about 3 years now. And Nikki and I travel as much as possible. She runs that page and posts at least 4 or 5 times a week. And when we travel, it's all up there, the nitty, the gritty, and usually me needing a lot of coffee because I'm always so jet lagged.
And bikini pics, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, actually, these beaches are topless, and they are probably also nude. So
Sweet.
Nikki says she refuses to go to a nude beach, but I think that I will. I'm 57 now, so I think that I will have to embrace the culture and check out a nude beach and put a lot of sunscreen on so I don't ruin the trip. But yeah, I'm looking forward to check, kind of seeing what that's like. So when I pack, maybe I won't even pack any bathing suits because I'm the world's worst packer. So maybe I'll just go natural to the beaches there.
So, as a young adolescent boy, the idea of a nude beach, and I think anybody my age will remember the episode of Charlie's Angels where Cheryl Ladd was on a nude beach. That was my favorite episode.
I wonder why.
Yeah. And so, needless to say, the idea of a nude beach was very exciting until I actually went to a topless beach in Tahiti about 25 years ago. And I learned the hard way that not everybody on a nude beach looks like Cheryl Ladd.
Oh, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that don't look like Cheryl Ladd at the beach this summer.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that men are any better looking than women. I'm just saying that the people that go to nude beaches are generally not in their 20s and working for a very good looking private investigation agency.
But listen, this is Nice, and so I think if you were ever going to see hot people at the beach, it's in France, especially like this is just. I think it's a very upper class area, and it's very vacationy. But I think that we'll probably see a lot of hotties. Maybe I'll text you some pictures of what the beaches actually look like. Hopefully, people won't be looking at us and laughing. Because
Yeah.
57, it's not that easy to pull off a bathing suit at 57, but going to give it my best shot.
All right. Well, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
good luck to you. I have no desire to go to a nude beach ever again. I've been turned off from that for 25 years. So,
Well, you have to live life to the fullest, and I think this might be my only chance to go to a nude beach. So, gonna have to give it a try.
okay.
But that's
Well,
okay. I won't
good
send you
for
those.
you.
I won't send you those pictures.
Okay. Well, you can.
Okay, maybe later.
All right.
What's going on with you? Anything interesting this week? How are you feeling?
I think I'm almost 100% over my COVID. Again, like I said last time, anybody who thinks COVID is a hoax can suck it. Because that disease, you got COVID brain, you got COVID fog, whatever you want to call it, and it is a real thing.
It takes a long time.
Yeah, and you can still hear it in my nose a little bit. I can hear it in my own voice. So I'm assuming you guys can. I've got my cough drops next to me still, and I'm still doing everything I can to overcome this. So, but this last week has all been about, believe it or not, even though we're in August, we're already working on our 2025 budgets at work, sales planning, planning all the events and sponsorships and travel and everything else that we have to do. So Brian and I are going to be winging it all over this blessed country of ours.
Yuck. I mean, it sounds nice.
Yeah, no. Anybody who thinks that business travel is exciting has clearly never done it.
I'd rather go to France.
Yeah, it works. It's fun for about the first week. And then after that, it's like, oh, shit, another plane, another hotel room with the same pictures.
But you have killer antibodies now, so that's good. At least you have probably 6 months to a year before you have to worry about catching COVID again.
Well, I guess there's always some silver lining.
Yeah, well, that's about it. That's all I got for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, okay then. So with that, Mr. Nichols, what's going on?
What's up, Pam and Tom? I am currently up near Lake Michigan with the in-laws and the family. So I am at a remote studio, but we're making things work today. I got you guys up on a flat screen TV. It looks pretty darn good if I do say so myself. But
Wow.
other than that, my back hurts a little bit. I mean, Tom just mentioned the business travel. When you're 6'5" and you're a former football player, when you have those little seats, especially when you get stuck in the middle seat on a flight, it doesn't really work well. So I'm still recovering from my back.
Who does that to you?
You know who does that to me? American Airlines, because I was supposed to have an aisle seat, and then my flight to so I was going home, and I had a connecting flight in Dallas, and my flight leaving Salt Lake ended up leaving about an hour late. So we had landed, and my flight from Dallas to Indianapolis had taken off about 20 minutes earlier. So they had already rebooked me, and I didn't take off until around 11 o'clock or so at night. So I didn't get home until ballpark like 3 a.m. But back to the reason why my back hurt and I got that middle seat is because when they rebooked me, they just give you whatever seats are available on that next flight. So that just, of course, is always the middle seats. So I felt so bad because there was like a small lady and then a younger guy to my left. And I was just like right there in the middle, taking up as much room as you can only imagine I could.
I can't imagine. My son is 6'5" also, and we always book him an aisle. So if he didn't have an aisle seat, I don't know what he would do with his legs.
Oh my! And that was a thing too. So like by the end, my knees were throbbing because I couldn't really extend them at all. And then like just you can't really. I mean, if you're tall in those seats, the seats really don't give you much support in your mid back. So your back is constantly like tensed up. And when I got off that plane, my back just spasmed like crazy. So it's just been recovery. Like, honestly, I'm surprised that I'm still as achy as I am. But yeah, business travel can get to you. It's not fun. So there's just bust that myth right out the window.
Absolutely.
All right, we've taken it off the table.
Exactly. Well, and you know, what was it? Was it Louis C.K. who talked about how, you know, any of us complaining about air travel, we should remember that, you know, and you know, 100 years ago, people would travel from one side of the country to the other, and it was a completely different group of people by the time they arrived because a bunch of people died and a bunch of people were born. And so, you know,
You're
we're sitting
saying
in a,
that these are first world problems.
yeah, you're sitting in a chair in the
1000%.
sky. So, anyway,
Yes. I
I
don't like to
agree.
think about it, especially a week before we're flying. Like, I am not a good flyer. I do not like flying. I
Yeah.
like getting where I'm going, but like, yeah, very nervous flyer. So,
Pam was asking me what my routine was when I got on the plane, and you know, was I nervous while the plane was being pushed back from the gate and when the taxiing? And I thought about it, I'm like, I'm asleep by then.
which is crazy. Anybody who can get on a plane and pass out and not have to deal with like all those hours flying is just, you're blessed.
It's a skill.
That's it.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, we're not going to talk about travel anymore.
No, let's dive right in.
Let's get into this. A friend of mine, a recently divorced friend, and I were talking, um, and he was asking me about the weird transition, the change, as I like to call it. And again, we're not talking about
Menopause.
menopause, but he's talking about the change, the transition from being a married person. This guy was married for a couple of decades, and now all of a sudden he finds himself divorced, and it happened very quickly. He goes from married to separated / divorced in just a month or so. Then he's single, and then he's trying to figure out how the dating thing, and then he's trying to figure out if it's time to get into a relationship. And so there's this, over a very short time period, he's realized just how weird it is to go from living with someone, having someone at home all the time with him,
Right.
to being alone and living alone for the very first time in his life. And so I want to talk about that change. So Pam, when you, one of the things you and I talked about at one point is when I got divorced, I went from living with my wife to living with my kids. I mean,
Right.
my boys and I rented a house together, and so I didn't live alone until I moved out of that place and into in with a girlfriend that we had been dating for 11 months, and we moved in together for 2 months, and then she went batshit crazy, and I've made a TikTok about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. But then I moved out of her house, or not her house, our apartment together, and moved to Florida, and walked into my apartment and realized as I was walking into my own apartment, that was the first time. I was 54 years old. It was the first time in my life that I'd ever lived alone. And I think you said, I've never lived alone.
Yep, it's true. I have never ever lived alone.
And you're I'm going to say it, you're older than I am.
See, it feels so unnecessary to say that. Like half a year. But anyway, yeah. I have been married twice, and I left high school in a relationship and jumped around from one relationship to another. Always had a roommate and then got married. Once I got divorced, I dated somebody from my past. So I was immediately in another relationship, but I had Nikki at the time. So my daughter was living with me, and then, dated throughout a couple of years there, and then met my second husband, and got married again and lived with him. And the only time that I was, well, I actually just caught myself, because to this day at 57, I have still never lived alone. Because Nikki lives here still. So, my divorce was about 4.5, 5 years ago now. And Nikki was back from college by the time my divorce happened, and has been my roommate ever since. And so the big change for me really came from having to go from having a man in the house, a man, not anybody, but a man in the house, where when something breaks or something's wrong or you hear a noise in the middle of the night, you're the adult, you're the adultiest adult in the room. And you have to be the one to get up and look and see what it is, or try to fix something from YouTube, or call somebody. And, I definitely found that transition to be very, very hard, but not as hard as going from being somebody's wife to being somebody's girlfriend or significant other or dating. I mean, the things that he is talking about, that has been the hardest transition for me, because you can call somebody to fix anything, but like to have a husband or a wife or a spouse, that is there literally, even if the relationship is shit, they're there all of the time. You always have somebody. So, granted, you're usually fighting with that person if you're headed towards being single, but it's the devil, living with somebody when it's terrible versus being alone without a
Yeah,
partner.
and living alone is definitely not the. In fact, living alone is pretty awesome, I have to say. But the
I won't
thing about
disagree.
yeah, the thing about this whole thing when I got divorced and I moved in with my boys, that was a transition.
Right.
Because it's obviously not the same. Because they're in their at that point they were what 22, 23 years old. Um, and we had a great time. I got to tell
Yeah.
you that we had so much fun. We talked
Living with
about
your
it.
adult kids is the best.
Oh my gosh, 18 months was the greatest 18 months of my life to this time, to this date, and I will treasure those memories.
I get it 100%. I can relate to that.
But it's different than having a partner, a spouse, having someone to talk to, the good shit, the bad shit, just shooting the shit. I
Sex
mean, sex, of course, but I'm talking about just companionship here.
in
It's
general.
there,
For me, it's an umbrella. It's everything. It's all of the things that you take for granted about your marriage because things are so bad that I think I'll say this out loud. I went over 4 years without having sex. So for me, that was, I'm not that I don't, contrary to our last episode, I do not sleep around. I do not, I'm not into one night stands. And so I needed to be in a relationship to want that intimacy again. And I couldn't find anybody that I wanted to be in a relationship with. And that to me was really, really difficult in the lines of going from being married to being single.
sure. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a big deal. For me, and this is what I was saying to my buddy. It's like, look, like you were saying, having a man around or whatever, however you said that. Obviously, I'm
Right.
not interested in having a man around. Um,
Women do things too, nice things.
yeah,
I
but
don't know what they are, but I'm sure
for,
some women do nice things.
there, like I'm just getting over COVID. No one's been around to take care of me. Not that I like being taken care of, but I had to remember to take the garbage out. I had to remember to do all this stuff, even with COVID brain and the fact that I was sleeping 19 hours a day. Um, I mean, the bottom line is I'm the only guy here. I'm the only person here. Um, and the other thing is that there's no one for me to take care of. We've talked about this in the past. Just
Yeah.
one of the things that I enjoy about being in a relationship is doing nice things for someone. And when there's no one to do nice things for, well, that's a big, you know, that's a big hole in my life.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can see that from both perspectives. I think I said to you while you're sick, um, if you're living alone and you're sick and you're groaning and you're like, God, I feel terrible. I feel like shit. I wish I had somebody to bring me something to eat. And I said, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, doesn't make a noise. And that's what it's like being single after being married for a long time. You can hate your spouse. Um, and at the end of my marriage, I don't think that my spouse did take good care of me, but at least there's somebody in the house. Like, I feel like if you died, somebody would find your body. And,
Right. I don't even have a cat to come eat my body.
right. And Charlie, my dog, would not care at all. Like, he would just walk over me, for God's sake. I think that it is very hard to get used to that transition, but it's equally as hard when you do end up in another relationship with somebody and it's new, and you don't know everything about that person because you haven't been married to them for 15 or 20 years. And so you have to start from scratch, learning all of those things about somebody again and trying to figure out whether that's somebody that you can see a relationship with or a long-term thing with, because like we all look back at our last relationship that didn't work out and we're like, well, Did we ask the right questions? Did we ignore red flags? And so here we are now in our 50s and we're like, fuck that. We're not going to do that again. And so you ask more questions and you have more conversations. And, some people would say that's not as romantic, but, in my opinion, starting a new relationship in your 50s, you don't really want to waste time. And also you don't want to ignore any red flags. If you're going to put yourself back out there for one person again, it needs to be the right person, or why bother? I mean, like, we're doing fine. We're single. We've gotten used to it. So I think that transition from what your friend said, from having a spouse to having, like, in his case, a girlfriend, or in my case, a boyfriend, that to me is the big conversation here, because God, I mean, yeah, you're over the loneliness and all of that, but like that pit in your gut when you're worried that you said the wrong thing or you did the wrong thing, like, it's back. And I'm 57 years old. Like, I haven't felt that pit in my stomach since my 30s. And so how do you deal with that?
Well, I'm fortunate that I don't get that.
So weird.
I know we've
Yes,
had
Tom
that.
has no nerves. He never gets nervous about anything. He just tells you how it is and you can take it or leave it.
That's exactly right. I mean, and it's partially because I am 56 years old.
No, rub
And
it in.
yeah, okay, I'm in my 50s, and I will
Right.
tell you that in my 50s, you've heard me say this before, but the single greatest article I've ever read in my life is called "The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck."
I've heard of that.
And just as you get older in life, you have fewer fucks to give. And I just
Yeah.
I just don't care. If someone, I like who I am. I know I can improve. I know I'm not a perfect person, but I like my personality. I like my general sense of self.
You're all right.
And so, what's that?
I said, you're all right.
Yeah, thank you. And so, if someone doesn't want to be around me, if they don't like who I am, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to lose 1 second of sleep over that. And so, if I say the wrong thing, well, that's who I am. It's not like I say anything intentionally to harm someone.
But were
But
you
if
more
they,
careful before, like,
oh yeah,
when you were younger? So you've evolved into a person who cares,
less
and I
and
may be
less
getting this,
and less.
cares less what somebody else's opinion is.
Absolutely.
Does that mean you have less to give somebody in a relationship because of that?
Less fucks to give.
Well, why? I don't know. I think those might be the same thing. If you give less of a fuck, then is that not just having less to give to somebody that you care about compared to what you gave to other people? And in that case, do you think that you should even look for a relationship if you don't feel like you would be as invested or have as many fucks to give?
I have more real Tom to give and less fake Tom to give.
Well, that's a huge point to your friend also, which hopefully he'll listen to this episode. You know, real versus fake. I mean, I can look back on my marriages and say I absolutely put on, not a show, but like I worked really hard to be what they wanted me to be. And
Right.
inevitably I failed because you can't do that.
No, you cannot. And again, I tried to a certain extent. Probably it sounds like I wasn't there for your marriage, so it sounds like you went to a great effort to be a chameleon for them. Where I didn't do a great effort to be a chameleon for them, but I'm doing even less of an effort now. I am who I am. And this is just what you see is what you get. We talked about it before, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go. I thought you were done.
Well, I was just going to say that I think that, one of the things that I said to my buddy was take your time. He's just recently divorced. And I gave him the same advice that we've talked about before. Some people agree, some people disagree. And that's fine. I know you disagree. I told him to wait a year. Now, I don't
Right.
know if he will or not. I said, wait a year. But you don't have to wallow in sorrow during that year. It's not a year of mourning and walk around in sackcloth and ashes or anything. But it's a year to get yourself right. And so if you're still bitter or angry, or if you like wake up in the morning and you just can't believe how bad you hate your ex-wife or what she did to you, yeah, today's not the day to ask someone out on a date or to get into a relationship. I think you should get past all that before you start dating and try to get yourself into a relationship. And I know we disagree on that.
I do. I completely disagree, but mainly because I feel like a lot of us have been single within our marriages for years before we separated and before we divorced. So like I hate the idea of wasting more time. And I also think that a lot of people do manage, like myself, to come out of I came out of both marriages without really any bitterness. And my long marriage, which was also 17 or 18 years, you know, I think that it was so long in the making. We separated multiple times, got back together. By the time that we separated for good, you know, I was really, really excited to get back out there right up until the minute I downloaded my first dating app. And
Exactly.
I was less excited, but you know, they do say that the fastest way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else. And clearly 4 years later, I had not mastered that technique yet. And so here I was swiping on dating apps, you know, not really wanting to just date around, looking for somebody that I felt would be a better partner than the people I had chosen in the past. Because I do think that I chose people that I was not like meant for. You can't regret it because I have kids from each of them, one child. And so you change one thing, you change everything. So I don't regret those relationships, but I was eager to at least explore what was out there until I explored what was out there. And I didn't wait a year, but turns out I waited 4.5. I am in a relationship now, but it's, you know, it's new. And, you know, it probably took 5 years to get to that place where, you know, I didn't feel like I was settling again for less than what I really wanted.
Yeah, for me, I think that the biggest thing, and I think we've talked about it here, I know I've talked about it on TikTok, is I was still very upset, not about the fact that she cheated, not about the fact that I was divorced. It was this concept that she alone changed my planned future. You know, my retirement was messed up because now it was cut by, well, not by half, but by almost a third. I mean, she took her retirement, I took my retirement. We had property that we were planning to retire to. I mean, just everything changed, and I didn't vote for that.
Right.
I didn't get my vote. It's that, and that's the thing about a partnership, a true partnership, is that it's either unanimous or it's zero.
And that's rare in a divorce.
Well, no, I'm talking about a marriage.
All right.
And so all of a sudden, with all the stuff that we had decided on together, she decided against unilaterally. And it took me a long time to not realize that, but come to grips with that. And I needed time to design and actually be able to envision a future different than the one I had planned. And it wasn't about being with her. It's not like I was trying to get over her. It was just, well, wait a minute. I was planning on living in this particular place for the rest of my life. Now I can't afford it. Now what? And it took time for me to get past that. And that's what I tried to say to my buddy. It's like, look, I'm not asking you to be bitter. I'm not asking you to spend the next year wallowing in misery, but take the time to make sure that you have a clear vision of who you are and what you are planning for yourself before you start inviting somebody else in.
No, it's definitely great advice. And, you know, it turns out I took your advice not even on purpose, but I think you dated also.
Oh yeah.
Right after your separation. So like you're saying in hindsight, you wish you had taken that year, but it in your case, you did end up in another relationship, but it was more than a year after your divorce, wasn't it?
Oh no. Oh no.
I
met her. Well, I met her literally a week after Trinity left, but we didn't start dating for about 8 months. But then we dated for over a year.
No, I mean,
but
I don't know, maybe
after we broke up, then I took a year off.
Well, after that, it sounds like you really needed to take a year off.
Yeah, she was.
I take time off from dating apps. You know, you were in a serious relationship that imploded. You know, I get on a dating app and I'm swiping and I'm like, oh, you know, this guy seems great, and you have a conversation and you meet them in person and they're nothing like what they were on the dating app. And then I would just go home and pause the dating app. I just needed time to regroup after each, like, very minimal time on the dating apps. And if I find myself single again, I don't think that I will attempt to meet people ever again on a dating app, which is a different episode for a different day. But back to his topic, you know, I do feel like that segue just from being someplace where you know everything to being someplace where you know virtually nothing, and everything that you're finding out is brand new. And whoever you're going to be with after a long relationship is probably not going to be like the person that you were in your last long relationship with. I mean, you have to kind of hope not, even though there are, of course, good things about those relationships that you really loved. I mean, inevitably, there were enough bad things that the relationship is combusting. So you're looking for somebody that brings an entirely different feeling to your life. And I think for the very first time for me, I realized that I was never going to invite anybody into my life that didn't bring me peace, and somebody that I was going to have to change, or somebody that wanted to change me. Like, I have realized that I am a lot like you in that way, that like I am completely comfortable with who I am, for better or worse. And if that means staying single because nobody, wanted who I have become in the last 5 years, then it made no difference to me. I could have stayed single forever. But to allow somebody into my life and to start over again, which is like a lot bigger deal than I think a lot of people realize, including myself, when you're ending a marriage and you're excited about, oh, I'm going to meet somebody that's better. It is a huge deal when you do meet somebody who you think would be better for you than the people you've been with in the past, because it's fear. You have all of this. Well, maybe you don't know. I guess I equate that probably with nerves, but like, you have this fear, like, are they who they seem? Are they able to also pretend to be something that they're not, like my ex? Are they going to stick around? Are they going to meet somebody else, and decide to go in another direction? You just have no guarantees when you're dating somebody, versus, not that marriage brings guarantees either, but like, we believe it does.
I'm with you. I mean, the bottom line is, no, it's not about nervousness for me. It comes down to, I mean, you think about that after a 17-year marriage, for example, almost 18-year marriage, all of the inside jokes that you have that, I could repeat them to a date, or even someone I've been dating for a year, and she wouldn't get it.
Right.
And so
That's very true.
it takes decades to get all of those jokes and just the inside stuff. And obviously, they're not going to mean anything to anyone but you. And it's just starting all that. It's dumb, but that's just one more thing you have to start over.
Bittersweet.
Yeah.
Because,
It
you
is.
want to be sharing new inside jokes with somebody, but of course you have to let go of all of the things that are no longer a part of your life.
Yeah.
It's literally like being 18 again in your 50s. And, I had heard this topic someplace else, and it really, really struck me that it's a huge difference to go. It's like going backwards in time. We grow up, we have a boyfriend, we have a fiance, we have a husband, and now you have a boyfriend again. It's like, it's crazy. It's I don't think it's the way it was. It wasn't meant to be this way. And yet,
Here we are.
all you can do is kind of hope that the boyfriend turns out to be better than the ex-husband was. I mean, like, it's hopes and dreams, butterflies and puppy kisses.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I told my buddy, I mean, yeah, this is a tough time. I mean, he's in his 50s. So it's the same. He's in exactly the same boat that we are. And I just said, dude, literally hundreds of thousands of us are doing it. I mean, it's not like you're going to die over this, but just take it slow, be smart. Don't get too emotional. Don't get too attached right away. Just be smart about it.
Great advice. It's great advice. I have so many friends that are all single in their 40s and their 50s. And I think that we all feel the same way. Like, you are literally dating to find a boyfriend, because I for one am fine if I never get married again. I don't ever need a contract or a husband, but I know for sure now that I think a partner or significant other can bring something back into my life that I honestly felt like I wasn't missing. I don't think you know what you're missing until you get a taste of it again. And I think we're really good as individuals and single people and divorced people at telling ourselves, and a lot of people attack me for this on TikTok, but like, we tell ourselves that we are as happy as we could be single. We don't need anybody else. We don't want anybody else. That's it. We're done with that. And I think it's just an excuse that we tell ourselves because we're not meeting the person that we
Right.
hope we would meet. And so it's better for our ego and our self-esteem to say, you know what, this is all I want. And I, for one, know that that's not all that I want. Could I live with it? Yeah. But like, I'll take a boyfriend over a husband now at 57 in a New York minute over anything that I've had in my past.
Yeah. I always think of it that, life right now as a single person is a good solid 8. And that's as high as it can get. You put a good partner in there, it can be a 9 or a 10 because life is better shared. That's just the way I see it.
Well, I agree with you. I hope you find her.
Well, I hope so too. Thank you.
I'll
Well,
introduce
okay.
you to
Should
my
we move on?
boyfriend sometime?
What's that?
I said I'll introduce you to my boyfriend sometime.
That would be great. I'd love to meet him.
All right.
Should we move on to our, I'm excited about this email.
Are you? I didn't hear it come in yet. Is it here?
There it is.
You've got mail.
Ryan's on vacation. Maybe we don't get You've Got Mail when he's on vacation.
Yeah.
My mouse fell asleep, and I was like, "Activate."
Oh, did he just say that we put him to sleep?
That was mouse.
The
Oh,
mouse.
it's mouse.
Not
All right, that's
me.
better.
Goodness. I'm a
All right,
professional.
here we go. Dear Pam and Tom, I recently married my high school sweetheart after dating for 6 years.
Well,
Our relationship has been a bit tumultuous, but he's the only guy that I've ever been with, and we have always talked about being together forever. Didn't we all do
Ooh,
that in high school?
sweet. That's awesome. Good for them.
Yes, I am only 24, but I just realized that I've never had an orgasm.
What?
She's 24. It's never too late to get started. She is writing to us after all. I was talking to girlfriends and I immediately realized I've never experienced the feeling that they were talking about. And then she wrote in capital letters, but I want to, with an exclamation point. She said, I'm not sure that my husband knows or cares. We've never discussed it or even talked about our sex life. We've always had a lot of sexual intercourse and I love feeling close to him, but now I know that there's more. Dun, 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 more. How do I bring this up? I'd like to experiment with vibrators and try different positions to see if I can climax. I've been reading a lot, exclamation point. I don't want to hurt his feelings or make him feel like I don't enjoy our sex life right after getting married. Help.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a doozy because they're newlyweds.
They're newlyweds, but they've been together for
Sitting
6
around.
years.
And they're sitting around, she's sitting around with her friends and they're like talking about this wave that came over their body and ended in like this convulsion. And they're like, she's like, what the hell is that? I've never felt that.
You know what it reminded me of? As soon as I heard this email, when you sent this to me and I read that, did you ever see The 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yes, of course.
Do you remember that part where he's describing touching a boob? Brian, do you have that?
Oh.
Nice. When you grab a woman's breast and you feel it and it feels like a bag of sand when you're touching it.
Bag of sand.
You know what I mean. Why don't we just play? Why don't we just feel it?
There we go.
A bag of sand. Certainly
Yeah.
she didn't have implants because then it would have felt like a water balloon.
Right. Well, he'd never felt it. That was the whole point. And so it reminded her where she's saying, I wanted to have that feeling that she didn't even know what that feeling was.
Right. But we're, as women, when we sit around, we're really good at describing that feeling. Like, not that I sit around talking about what my orgasms feel like with my friends, but clearly somebody was giving her more details about sex. And she realized that she wasn't having that. And so that's got to be a harsh realization that there's more. Clearly it was fine, good enough because she got married. So sad. You don't know what you're missing until somebody tells you.
Well, then we've talked about this before, but as a recovering Mormon,
Right.
I was a virgin when I got married. And I think the whole point of that in religion is so that you don't know what you're missing.
That makes sense.
It actually does in a weird way. But she's only been with this guy. We don't know if she's the only girl he's been with. He clearly doesn't know any better, right? I mean,
Yeah, I'm thinking if he's never asked or like, I mean, I think that most men, I don't know, Tom, can you tell when a woman has an orgasm?
I wish.
Like,
I,
can't the
I can tell when she's acting like she has.
Oh, well, I mean, you kind of have to take them at their word. I
Right.
think that's kind of my question. Do you know, when a woman's had an orgasm, either she tells you or,
Right.
like to me, there's a big difference. If I'm having an orgasm during sex, normal sex, I can continue to have sex, you know, even afterwards. If I am, on the other hand, using toys or manually doing that, I need to take a break afterwards, which is kind of more like a man who,
Hmm.
after a man climaxes, he needs to take a break. Um,
Hmm.
but as a woman, I understand why she wants to find out. I think she said, hold on, did she mention? Yeah, she definitely said she'd like to experience with vibrators, and I know that we tell her when we're gonna be airing her email, um, she needs to try vibrators, especially if they've been having sex on a regular basis. If he has tried other things, and it's just not happening for her, then, she needs to grab a vibrator and maybe spend a couple hours by herself and figure out what she's missing.
So, to be completely clear, I have zero problem with vibrators or toys or anything like that. So that's not why I'm going to say this. But is vibrators the best first step? I mean, we don't know. Again, she didn't say this, but have they tried just oral? Have they tried? I mean, she says we've had plenty of intercourse. Which, by the
Right.
way, when you talk to him, don't use the word intercourse.
Right.
Let's keep that word out of your conversation. But
What would you
she's
like her
had,
to use instead?
I don't know, just not intercourse.
So
Um,
just sex.
Sex, yes.
Okay.
I mean, the bottom line, it sounds like they're having sex, but is there any foreplay? I mean, there are things that can happen that can make this better without bringing toys to the room. Now, and
They can
again, I'm not opposed to toys.
No, maybe they should, maybe really, if they were both virgins and they have no experience, then I think it's as simple as watching a porno
There you go. That's
or,
not going to hurt anything.
turn on Pornhub. You cannot watch Pornhub in North Carolina. Did you know that?
You can't.
No. Don't ask me how I know that, but like you have to have a VPN on
Oh,
your device in order to watch porn in North Carolina. Don't ask me how I know that either. But clearly there's
wow.
ways around this. But yeah, North Carolina, it's like, I don't know what the reason is. I guess it's just because we lean more red here. I don't know. They just are against porn. So like you cannot log on to Pornhub. And this is not a plug for Pornhub. But yeah, when
Huh.
you log on, the lady who runs the company, don't ask me how I know this. The lady who runs the
You're going
company
to have
comes
to start
on.
talking here.
This lady comes on and tells you all the reasons that, I don't have time to listen to her. She's definitely explaining why you can't get onto Pornhub in North Carolina. Wants you to write your congressman to get it back. But assuming that there's somewhere where they can log on to Pornhub, I would recommend that. And if you're listening to our channel and you're wondering if you've had an orgasm or about the ins and outs, no pun intended, there are so many sources on the internet. Like you should not be having sex without having an orgasm, period.
Agreed.
It's fun. That's not to say that I always have an orgasm, but I do. But it is to say that like you're missing out on a really great part, but the connection that you feel with your partner, or if you are just hooking up, that connection of just one-on-one friction, all that good stuff, you can have that, but like you're missing the cherry on top.
Well, and here's the thing. It sounds like it sounds like they're, I mean, they are newlyweds. Sounds like they're both very inexperienced, and she's never had an orgasm. And so I would hope that she could have a conversation with him and say, hey, we've only been together for this little bit of time. I've never been with anyone else, but my friends are telling me there's this thing that I've never experienced. We should find a way to get there. And I'm going to tell you, as a guy, and I unlike apparently women who sit around and talk about orgasms, I have never had this conversation with another man.
I actually haven't either had the conversation
Okay.
about orgasms. We talk about sex, but we don't talk about that part.
But my favorite thing is knowing that I have helped her get there.
Right.
That's like my happy place in the whole world, is like,
You like
hey,
to be an active participant.
yeah. And from that, you know what? I don't own the mommy parts. And so getting instructions, directions, and guidance is, I think that's awesome. She's into it. She wants to be part of this. And I
She
want to be
wants to
part
have
of
an
it.
orgasm.
Right. And
You
I want to
know.
help provide that. And so I would hope that he would want his wife, especially his new bride, to enjoy it as much as he is. And that's how it happens, right?
I think there's the only problem that I see there is he has probably been assuming all this time that it's as good for her as it is for him. You know, I see in the movies all the time. I don't think that I've ever actually had anybody say to me, "Oh, was that good for you?" Like nobody really has, and I've had, you know, sex with at least 2 or 3 people. Like nobody's ever said like, you know, was that good? They've never checked in, that, you know, they just kind of assume it. And so I am very verbal. I like somebody to know where I'm at, and I like somebody to know where I want them to be. You know, I enjoy the act of sex a lot. I enjoy the closeness that comes from that. I'm sure she's getting that. I enjoy all of that, but like I really enjoy the cherry on top. And so I think she's going to have a conversation where she says, you know, I realize this. And, you know, yes, it's always been great, because he's going to be worried. He's going to be like, wow, has it not been good for you all this time? And she needs to make sure that his ego stays intact while having this conversation about the fact that she wants to have more. Or maybe there's another way she can go. I just thought of this, Tom. I thought maybe she needs to do her own research and just maybe be a little more verbal with him, even though it's kind of going to be out of left field. Maybe there's a better way than just saying, hey, I don't think I'm having any orgasms and I'd like to. I don't know. How would you take that?
Well, again, you have to think back, like you were saying in the last segment, about that. It's like being 18 again. These guys are pretty much just 18. And to be able to say to him, hey, you know, we're pretty new at this still.
6
And
years.
yeah, but here's, you know, I was just at lunch with my friends and they told me that they have this stuff happen that I've never had happen. I'd like to learn how to do that. Can you work with me on that? You know, I mean, to me, this doesn't seem, and if he gets hurt by that, by the way, he really does need to grow up, because this is about becoming closer as a couple. It's about both of them enjoying it. And it's not like she's saying you're bad at sex. I just found out that there's this thing that I didn't even know existed.
I remember when I was a kid, I think I was like 14. I don't know how she made it to 22 without running into that spot. I mean, I think that you don't even need toys. I know she wants to explore with toys, but like she could probably use his hand, use her hand. I mean, like it's I feel like having never had an orgasm, that once she figures out where her clitoris is, where that spot is that she needs to rub, like she's going to know right away what an orgasm feels like. And from that point on, she'll know what she needs, because clearly I don't know if everybody knows this. I don't know if all men know this, but there are a lot of women. I think it's 95%. Don't quote me. You can Google that. But like, I think 95% of women cannot have an orgasm without something other than just sexual intercourse. And I use a technical term because that's how it's written, you know, like just the act of in and out, you know, without any stimulation on your clit, you're not going to have an orgasm. And most women can't have an internal orgasm. So if you're not having them, check yourself out, do some exploring down there. It's pretty great.
And tell your partner how to help.
Right.
Because we don't have those parts.
Right. Especially if you're, you know, 40s, 50s, you know, and I don't know what the demographic is on our podcast, but like most women my age, we've well figured out how to have orgasms on our own, especially because we're mostly single. And so if you're an older woman, unlike this writer, and you're having sex with somebody and you're not feeling like you're being fulfilled, just tell them, because I don't know, that's something that's very second nature to me. I don't want just to have intercourse, just to have sex with somebody and not have an orgasm. So like, don't be shy. We have one life. Have your
Absolutely.
O's.
Yep. Find your O face.
Yes, do it, guys. Well, I don't know if we helped her or not. Maybe at least, at the very least, she will talk to him now about it, or do some exploring on her own, and then just kind of shove his face or his hand to where she needs it to be. I don't have great advice for a 24-year-old, just because, like, I want her to have orgasms, lots of them. She's 30 years younger than me, so
Yep.
it's a lot of orgasms.
Yep.
All right. So with that, please, you guys, I know that we do sometimes have a lot of fun with these emails. It's never at your expense. Sometimes it's just because we don't actually know the answer. We are not experts, but please send us your emails. Talkingphase@gmail.com is where you send them. Again, it's talkingphase@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. I, of course, read every single email, and I send the spicy ones to Tom, or at least I send the ones that I think that we will be able to have a good conversation about, and maybe possibly someday help somebody. Those are the ones that I send to Tom. So send them, please, to us.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for being a part of this. I was looking at the analytics yesterday. Our audience is growing every single week. So thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this podcast with your friends and your family. More than anything, if you haven't taken the time to do this right now, please just take a second and give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're hearing this on, whether it's YouTube or Apple or Spotify or anything else. Write a quick review. Tell us what you think about what this lady should do about her O face, where she should find it, how she should find it. We can obviously pass that advice along to her. We do this every single week. The new episode drops every single Friday. We are, as of right now, we're at one Friday in a row that everything went perfectly.
Oh, yes, it was great though. I was able
Yes.
to listen to last week's podcast at like, I think 8:30, 8:45.
So it drops
Very
at about 8
productive.
o'clock on Friday morning. Be sure to follow us everywhere we have a presence. So it's not just here, wherever you're listening to us. We're also on TikTok at Talking Phase Podcast, also Facebook and Instagram. And with that, until next Friday, this is Pam and Tom signing off.
Have a great day and a week, year, month, universe, infinity, and beyond.